there anything in particular you wanted to focus on today more than yesterday?
Just trying to bring stuff together and not always add. And there is a tendency when you first get a team in a gym, at times you want to just shove stuff in, and to me, there is a progression in how you periodize stuff. And so you think through what do you want to get in the first 4 days, knowing there's an inter-squad scrimmage on Saturday, and then you have a day off, and then you're going to come back for another chunk of time, just trying to have that teaching sort of mindset today, and we did it. We cleaned up a lot of the stuff we put in instead of just piling on.
But I know this is only day 3, day 4, whatever, and there's a new group. But is there anything that you learned about yourself early on when you first started with the Sixers that can help you right now with this team going forward?
I mean, just you're always reminded how important training camp is. And you think that, we're with each other for a long time and a long season, and this is true. But they come in excited, and so did Jakar and Michael Carter-Williams and Spencer and all those guys. But you're just reminded at whatever stage you've got your team, it's an important period of time. And so things like conditioning still rule the day. Things like defensive principles and putting those in still rule the day. You're doing it with a different audience and talent level, but you're just reminded of that. And I felt it even earlier with the younger guys, the importance of that. That is sort of like my first glance answer to your question, what have I learned over my days doing this, no matter who the team is.
And I guess right now, before it was more teaching. Now it's more schematics, is it, or?
It's always teaching to me. It really is, and it's almost like a language class. Like if I come out and start talking about, listen, if so-and-so nashes and I want to, go to the Malone line, and if somebody Verajow's a pick and roll, and I can go on, and that's Peyton X, let's get Batman out of it. Like if you come into a gym, I don't care if it's Al Horford or whomever, it's like, what's he saying? And there is a responsibility that I have to teach the language, and it's almost like you're coming up. Well, I am. It's a dictionary. Here's a word. This is what it means. Offense, defense, and it's always teaching. I don't care if you got Al Horford or Nerlens Noel. It's. I see it like that, especially at the start.
Brett, I'm interested in how.
It's definitely helpful, but I feel like for me the biggest excitement is the fact that he feels clearly a confidence level to do it. And somebody asked me yesterday, well, why? What do you see? And I said it quickly. This is what I see. He feels he had a hell of a summer putting in time. He's now back with the ball, our point guard all-star. And he knows. He knows what I just said. He knows what a Nash is and a Verajao and a Malone line. And he knows. And so you're not tormented by what's going on. I'm not still sure. He's thinking less and playing more. And it produces a confidence where he can say things to people because they don't know. And he's doing it. And that in itself is sort of my joy that I'm seeing with him right now.
Brett, how does Henderson as his outside shooting look? And one of the things you mentioned that, so I don't mind asking, you mentioned that you thought you may ask defenders to back off a little bit in practice just to challenge them a little bit to when the shot got open. I was wondering if that's been able to do that and what kind of results can you see?
I mean, we go back and you study the tape, and I have not done that yet as a scheme to just produce the environment, and I will. The good news, what everybody should hear is, for me it is how many shots has he passed up? And there aren't any. And I think that's massive. He hasn't passed up, and we study it, and he understands what I think and what we're trying to do. I will say, and maybe you don't agree, but I'll say it, we got to be careful that Like this still isn't the thing. You know, to me, he is a 23-year-old all-star. It's hugely important. We understand it, especially in April, May, and June, and we have to set the stage. But my center point, where I still see the world with him, is I think he could be the best defensive player in the NBA. I think he has to feature on an all-NBA defensive team because he can. He's going to grow as a leader and a point guard that we just talked about. And I think the other stuff is just going to just progressively evolve. And so that's what I say to him, and that's what I really think. And we're going to continue to try to produce an environment that can let him grow in that area.
With that said, Brady, I'm assuming you don't want him forcing shots just to prove people that he can.
That's exactly right, Keith. You know, because the groundswell of this thing is bizarre. I understand it, but it gains its own life, and he obviously listens. And I hope he doesn't. You know, there's sometimes if he don't want to shoot, he don't want to shoot. And so it's always about, okay, well that sounds great, but what about April, May, and June? I understand that. And the starting point needs to be now. And so how do we do that? Is it corner three spacing? I think so. Is it people going to middle pick and rolls, whatever? I think so. We can all pinpoint different areas where it could show itself. But to like jam it down somebody's throat and like only say this is his judgment day, there's lots else going on that we should be looking at as well.
On sort of the other side of that, though, how much of a tolerance do you have for what might be a bad shot early in the season? Like if he's a month in, he's shooting 20% from the corners, do you alter it?
Absolutely not. And you know, I think, Derek, it's for me, it's my tolerance level, and Ben missed is really sort of high. I have a high tolerance level. I'm going to let him. I'm with him. Like, we're going to get this thing to a level that, you know, he's comfortable with shooting, and he put in the time. If somebody didn't put in the time, I'm not with them. Like, I don't feel a responsibility to do that where it's going to hurt the team. I don't. But I know what he did over the summer, and I know where I have to help him get. And so my tolerance level is completely high. There are going to be some times you say, hey, maybe Joel could have been posted or whatever. But the good news to me also is the team feels this. They're not like wondering like what's going on here. Like they're supportive of it, and so that is completely how I see it.
How's that year been?
Just a pogo stick, just like a bouncy athlete. You know, had one or two plays today that you're like, okay, just an incredibly gifted athlete. He's making some shots. He's playing hard. I think we're all gonna enjoy, you know, how this plays out with Shake and Furkan and Matisse and Zaire. That's an interesting group. And you know, when you just sort of talk about the young guys, I think that he's had a real bounce and has been excellent, defensively especially. What he can do is he can cover a mistake as well as any young kid that I've coached. So for instance, if he like tries to go steal a ball and misses and somebody back cuts, he can make up ground, get back in a play and block a shot. He can overhelp as the lone man defensively, and they skip past it and go chase off somebody in our red corners and block his shot. He can cover a mistake incredibly well. And, you know, when you find those guards that can do that, those perimeter wings that have that type of ability to roam and cheat and still cover their mistakes, it's pretty impressive. I think that he'll fit completely into what we're trying to do defensively.
Brett, how long does it take someone, do you think, for their voice to really resonate in a locker room? Because even someone like Al, he doesn't want to come in and be like the guy who's just yelling at everyone and my way or the highway. How long does that process normally take to really lead on it?
I don't think you could quantify that. I will say this, because I've seen a lot of locker rooms. It's always by a mile actions that speak so much louder than words. And Al's like history and resume puts him high on an opportunity list to be. He's got a greater chance of being heard more quickly because of who he is. And then what impresses me is how he talks to the guys in practice, and he's got a level of care and communication that is elite. How does that translate into, you know, a calendar? It's a month, 2 month, whatever. I don't know, but his foundation and his starting point is high. And I think he's just got a real role and a place for that. I think he's going to be excellent at it. Thanks, everybody.